I am getting ready to record this class, so let's see. Hi, welcome to Budget and Tips with Master Your Mint. Today we're going to talk about how to use your money to live the life you want. 58% of Americans have less than $1,000 saved. Keep in mind that if you have $1,000 saved, you can meet most of your emergencies that come up. And most of your emergencies being like your water heater broke, or your tires popped on the highway, or you need to replace the radiator in your car, or you need to fly to your mom quickly and your mom lives out of town. Most of us, for most of us, $1,000 is enough of a buffer to keep us from going into credit card debt. And 58% of Americans have less than $1,000 saved. That's huge. 50% of American households live paycheck to paycheck. That means if you miss one paycheck, you have a problem. Your lights might go out, or your cell phone might be turned off. If you miss two paychecks, you might get evicted. If you miss three paychecks, you're absolutely going to get evicted. So that's a big problem. Only 32% of US families maintain a household budget. So most people, the money comes in, they spend it, there's nowhere planned for how they'll spend it, and that would explain why 58% of Americans have less than $1,000 saved. The buffer between that are the people who make much more money than their needs are, and so they're able to have a savings account. But for those of us who don't make significantly more than what our needs are, we need to actually maintain a budget. Budgeting absolutely saves your sanity. There's some really good reasons to budget. One, it creates a spending plan. So when your money comes in, matter of fact, for those who I coach one-on-one, before your money comes in, you know exactly how it needs to be spent, where your priorities are for every dollar. You have designated money to meet your needs. So you have designated money for food. You have designated money for your housing. You have designated money to pay your bills. And if you're in a crisis situation where you don't have enough money to meet those needs, we know what the priority of the money needs to be. So for example, food is always a priority. So we'll always make sure that there is money for food. The other reason that it's great to have a budget is that you'll know when to splurge. Like, it's impossible, or let me not say it's impossible, to live a good quality of life. Yes, you need to meet your needs, but you also need to do things that bring you happiness and bring you joy. And sometimes those things cost, and those are splurges. So Starbucks for some people is a splurge. It costs a little bit more than if you went to the grocery store and just bought coffee. So it's a splurge. So you'll know when you can splurge. You'll know how much you have to splurge. It's different if you're splurging on Starbucks, or if you're splurging on that dream vacation to Greece or to Bali or to Seattle. Whatever your splurge is, you'll know when you can splurge and how much you can splurge if you have a budget. The other thing that budgeting does is that it creates money for the things that you want, not just the things that you need, but the things that you want, including those splurges. When you don't have a budget, the consequences are high, right? One, it increases your chances of debt. Using debt feels really good in the short run. When you go to the store, you don't have the money in your account, and you want that dress, you want that couch, you want that vacation, you just swipe your card and move on. But the problem is that using debt becomes a drain on your budget in the long term. So if you've ever had a credit card before, you know that having $1,000 balance is different in terms of your minimum payment than having a $10,000 balance. And what you'll find is that if you continue to accrue a credit card balance, eventually the minimum payments become a significant drain on your budget. So it steals your happiness long-term, and not having a budget puts you in a situation where you have no savings, and so you're using debt to meet your wants, you're using debt to meet your crises. The other consequence of not having a budget is that you lose track of your spending. You buy knickknacks here and there. Saving $1,000 is easy, relatively. It just means that you're saving $100 10 times. But when you have $100 in your pocket, it's easy to use it on knickknacks. It's easy to use it on shoes. It's easy to use it on candy in the store. It's easy to use it on things that aren't goal oriented, that aren't your splurges. It's easy to use it on things that aren't necessarily needs, things that you don't even really want. And so you spend a lot of your money on low price things, and it eats away your money for bigger, significant joys. So when people say, oh, I don't have enough money to go on vacation, but they spend $100 that they can't account for every month, that means that it's not that they don't want to go on vacation. They have lost track of their spending, and going on vacation is not a priority for them. Another consequence is you fall short of your savings goals. When you have no savings or low savings or no emergency fund, that creates a situation where you fall into the debilitating cycle of higher debt, because everything that happens has to be paid for some way. So either you're going into debt about it, debt to resolve your issue, or debt to resolve your splurges. I think the biggest thing for me, though, is that not having a budget increases your anxiety. Financial shame is a real thing. And so people tend to much rather swipe their card rather than say, no, I can't go to this thing, or swipe their card rather than, sometimes it's about food, swipe their card rather than go hungry. Now, I agree with that. Swipe your card, don't go hungry. Now, if you're swiping your card at Ruth Chris, that's different. If you're swiping your card because you need to get some food at the grocery store, that's a different budgeting consideration. Money is also the leading cause of separation and divorce among couples. And so it is important that you manage your money well, because managing your money well can actually save your marriage. And if there's anything that increases anxiety, it's divorce and separation. Food insecurity is a real thing. There's nothing worse than being hungry and not having the money to meet that need. There's nothing worse than your kids being hungry and not having the money to meet that need. But so is vacation, and so is clothing. Like you're likely to outgrow your clothes, or your clothes are likely to become old and withered. Your kids absolutely will outgrow their clothing. And when you don't have the money to meet those needs, it becomes a source of anxiety. Same thing with vacation. Like everybody needs some time off. You need some downtime. You need some time where you relax and rejuvenate. For some of us, it's going to the Airbnb down the street. For some of us, it's going to Greece for a week or two. And so when you have the ability to do those things, you also have the ability to do things that release and relieve your anxiety. Not having a budget also decreases your quality of life. Financial anxiety affects how you show up in other areas of life. People who have money, people who can show up with their money, tend to have a greater sense of security when it comes to showing up in different parts of their life. It affects the memories that you can create for your children. It affects the memories you can create for your family and yourself. Christmas time when things are tight is a very different Christmas than when things are not tight, because you have the ability to choose what you do with greater flexibility. Not having a budget damages your credit, or can damage your credit. If you don't have cash for all your purchases, credit can get you places. However, if you aren't spending your money appropriately, then you run the risk of forgetting an expense and damaging your credit. You can forget to pay your credit card bill. You can forget that an expense might be coming up, and then you have to use your credit card, but then you don't have the ability to repay that credit card in a timely fashion. If you don't have cash for all your purchases, you can always get a credit. You can sometimes get credit to pay for that. So that's a beautiful thing. However, if you're not able to manage that credit well, then not having a budget creates a consequence for you. There are 3 categories of ways that you can budget. You can actually use pen and paper. You can have a notebook, write down your expenses, write down your income, do the mathematics back and forth, and actually budget that way. It is perfectly legitimate. There's some of us who like spreadsheets, and I'll show you a spreadsheet and give you access to the spreadsheet that I use. There's some of us that like spreadsheets where you can plug the information in and the computer will calculate it for you. And then some of us like software. I like mint.com. Mint is free. but I also like YNAB. You need a budget is what YNAB stands for, YNAB.com. YNAB costs, it costs a little bit under $100 a year, or you can pay for it monthly, which costs, I think, somewhere around $12 a month at this time. When it comes to budget, the steps are easy. One, just do it. Don't delay. Plan your money before the deposits even hit your bank account, and don't spend a thing until you plan. And write it down. Write down your bills in the order of priority. And I don't necessarily mean you have to physically write it down with pen and paper. But if pen and paper works for you, do pen and paper. If that doesn't work for you, use a spreadsheet. But know what your bills are. Know that when you get $1,000, this $1,000 has to go to A, B, and C. And you know exactly what they are. And then add the numbers, add up your expenses, add the income, subtract your income for expenses and see the difference. Do you have enough to meet your needs? Do you need to increase your income, or do you need to decrease your expenses? Or do you need to do both? And spend accordingly. Spend as the way you have budgeted. Let me show you a simple budgeting worksheet that I love and I will give you access to. It's really easy. By the way, don't use this. This is a template. Actually make a copy. So if you need it, just click File and click Make a Copy, and it will create a copy for you in your own file. But it's easy. And here you can plug the numbers in. Let's say your job pays you. Let's say you want to use this budgeting worksheet to budget for your paycheck coming up in the next couple of days. And let's say you know your paycheck is usually around $1,500. You have a photography business, and that photography business, you have some clients that are going to pay you $300. You have another business, and that business is going to pay you $150, and your child support's coming in at $700. So you'll have $2,650 to meet your needs, right? However, these are the bills that it has to pay. So your rent, let's say your rent is $1,200. Hang on. Your rent is $1,200. You got to pay that. Your car insurance is coming up. That's $350. Your car note, your gas is your phone. You're gonna buy some gifts for some friends because you have some birthdays coming up, and you're going grocery shopping. But grocery shopping is only gonna be $200. You usually spend around $200. And let's say there is something else happening. Let's say you're going to put something in savings this month. So you want to put in savings, you want to put another, let's say $50 in savings. Or you know that you have a credit card payment that's due coming up. You can put that in. Your credit card payment is going to be $75. So you know exactly what it is. So here it is. These are your total expenses. This is your total income. You know that based on the amount of money that you have coming in and your expenses here, you're going to have a shortfall of $125. And so with this shortfall, you're going to have to come in and tweak these numbers. So maybe you have to take this gift out. You won't be able to do a gift this month. You're still going to be short $25, so you got to make an adjustment somewhere. So maybe you call the phone company, or maybe you call the phone company and you say, hey, can I pay you $100 this week, and can I pay you $100 on my next paycheck? So they allow you to pay $100, and there you go. You know your balance is $75. It's a very simple budget calculator. Everybody should be able to plug the information in and see what's going on. I'm actually going to change this so that when the number is negative, it shows up in red, so you'll know that's there. I have a more complicated worksheet that I share with the people that I'm coaching, and it prompts you a little bit more. It does the same thing. It prompts you a little bit more, and then we go into your actual spending and we look at what's happened. So let's say you expected to get paid $2,000, but you actually got $2,500 because it's Christmas time and they sent you a bonus. So then that's gonna adjust here, right? But let's say you really did actually get $1,500 instead. You thought they were gonna pay you the bonus, but they only paid. So then it adjusts. So this is a more complicated spreadsheet that you can work on by yourself, but I usually work on it with clients. But I will send you the simple budget that you can use at any time. You can use it paycheck by paycheck. You can use it one paycheck at a time. If you can use it 1 month at a time if you'd like. If you're in a crisis, it's more helpful to do one paycheck at a time before the paycheck comes, and then build up to budgeting for longer periods of time. Here's what I tell everybody. Rome wasn't built in a day. Your budget is a living, breathing, changing document. Once you start budgeting, you won't get it perfect the first time. You won't get it perfect the second, the third, or the fourth time. There'll be things that come up that you didn't expect. Your kid is going to come home and say, hey, mom, I need to pay for my soccer. And that's not something that you might have planned for. But you can always come to the budget, put it in, tweak the numbers, and see what it is that you can adjust or what it is that you need to adjust. As your life evolves, so will your budget. So the budget that was good for you 3 years ago might not work for you now. And so you'll have to continually adjust and adapt your budget to whatever your needs are. It is something that you really should be doing on a regular basis. Every time money comes in, it should have a job. Either you're going to spend it or you're going to save it. And if you're going to spend it, you clearly need to know how you want to spend it. Here's what I want you to know. I am here to support you. I would love to work with you. I would love to help you to get financial clarity when it comes to your not just your business expenses, but your personal expenses. You can book a free clarity call with me at bit.ly/masteryourmint. You can get this spreadsheet, the simple spreadsheet, by just going to bit.ly/mymbudget. And if you'd like to continue to have conversations with me, check me out at masteryourmint.com. Thank you and have a great day.